When most people think about Gaza, they think that it belongs to the Arabs. Guess what? Gaza is more Jewish than Arab, and it's time to make Gaza Jewish again. Stick with me as I provide you with all the information to help you better understand. Yet, despite the facts that you are about to learn about, the discourse in the media and the political world today surrounding Gaza totally ignores Gaza's actual history. What am I talking about? Well, first of all, let's look at a map of Gaza. It is a tiny slice of land around 25 miles long, just a little bit bigger than the island of Manhattan in New York City. Gaza is tiny. Remember, the modern Jewish state of Israel is itself small, smaller than the state of New Jersey. And Gaza is only a tiny bit of it. Not its own separate country. Gaza was only separated from Israel because of the armistice lines following the 1948 Independence War. The Egyptian army controlled Gaza when the armistice agreement was written at the end of that war, and Egypt remained in control of Gaza until Israel liberated Gaza from the Egyptians in the miraculous Six-Day War in 1967. Now let's proceed to discussing the actual history of Gaza. Gaza is not Arab Muslim. As Hamas Minister of Interior and National Security Fathi Hamad stated on Egyptian television back in March 2012,
والحمد لله أصولنا كلنا عربية ويستطيع كل فلسطيني في غزة وفي كل فلسطين أن يأتي بجذوره العربية سواء كانت من السعودية أو من اليمن أو من أي نفط، ولذلك قد تربطنا قرابات، ولذلك أين المودة، أين الرحمة؟ أنا شخصيا نص عائلتي مصرية كلنا، ويمكن بيجي حوالي أكثر من 30 عائلة اسمها المصري. في أساسنا نص فلسطين يا أخواننا مصري ونص سعودي. ايش من هم الفلسطينيون؟ في عندنا في اسماء كثيره اسمها المصري وجذورهم مصريه، مصريه قد يكونوا من الاسكندريه، من القاهره، من دمياط، من الوجه البحري، من اسوان، من الصعيد. نحن مصريون، نحن عرب، نحن مسلمون.
They're not from Gaza. Gaza has a rich Jewish history going back centuries before Muhammad even introduced Islam to the world. Gaza is often viewed through the prism of contemporary conflict, overshadowing its deep-rooted historical significance to the Jewish people. While the modern discourse frequently neglects the Jewish connection to Gaza, the historical record is full with evidence of a profound and enduring link between Gaza and the Jewish people. From ancient times to the 20th century, the Jewish presence in Gaza is a testament to an enduring heritage that is always overlooked and ignored. It's time that we shed light on this pivotal aspect of history and reaffirm the Jewish connection to Gaza. So the story of Gaza actually begins in the Bible, where it is one of the 5 Philistine cities mentioned in the context of the Israelites, the Jewish people's historical narrative. Although often depicted as a Philistine stronghold, Gaza was a city where Jewish communities resided and interacted as well. During the times of the First and Second Temples, Gaza served as a significant trade and cultural hub. The ancient Jewish presence in Gaza was not merely a historical footnote, but an integral part of the city's dynamic continuation. And I want to add this. While some people today say that the Palestinian Arabs of today are descendants of the biblical Philistines, there is no historical timeline to prove such lineage. And it does not even make sense, since the biblical Philistines were a seafaring people, whereas the Arabs today, who call themselves Palestinian Arabs, they're Arabs. They call themselves Arabs, and Arabs originate from across the Middle East of Arabia. As British mandate immigration records clearly prove, the Arabs came from there. One of the most striking pieces of evidence for the Jewish connection to Gaza is the ancient mosaic found in the Gaza Mosque, which was once a Jewish synagogue, reflecting the true story of Gaza, with a strong Jewish history centuries before Islam was even created by Muhammad in the 7th century. The mosaic dates back to 508 AD. This mosaic is a remarkable artifact that provides a glimpse into Gaza's Jewish heritage. The mosaic, discovered during renovations of the mosque, depicts intricate Jewish symbols and inscriptions, highlighting the synagogue's historical significance. The Jews were in Gaza with a synagogue hundreds of years before Muhammad even invented Islam. Today, this mosaic can be seen at the Museum of the Good Samaritan in Israel, a poignant reminder of Gaza's once vibrant Jewish community. The presence of this mosaic not only underscores the Jewish historical connection to Gaza, but it also reflects the city's role as a cultural crossroads. Now I want to introduce a piece of trivia information about Gaza that most Jews should know. In the early 17th century, Rabbi Yisrael Nejara was the chief rabbi of Gaza City, and he composed the renowned song Karibon. This song, sung every Friday night by Jews all over the world for centuries, has become a cherished part of Jewish music, reflects the deep spiritual and cultural ties that Jews maintained with Gaza. Rabbi Nejara's contributions to Jewish liturgy and his role in Gaza underscore the city's importance in Jewish religious life during his time. That's during the 17th century. As well, following the Spanish Inquisition, which led to the expulsion of Jews from Spain and Portugal in 1492, many Sephardic Jews sought refuge in various parts of the Ottoman Empire, including in Gaza. In the late 15th and early 16th centuries, Jews began to settle in Gaza, revitalizing the city's Jewish community that had existed in earlier periods but had dwindled. This new wave of Jewish settlers in our ancestral homeland established a vibrant community, contributing to the city's economic and cultural life. They engaged in trade, established synagogues, and maintained religious and educational institutions. Jewish life continued in Gaza until the early 20th century. Jewish communities thrived and contributed to Gaza's economic and cultural landscape. However, as tensions escalated and violence erupted from the neighboring Arab Muslim population in the 1920s, culminating in actual horrible violence in 1929, the Jews were forced to flee Gaza, leaving behind a community that had been an integral part of Gaza's history. After 1929, Gaza was Jew-free until Israel liberated Gaza from Egypt in the miraculous Six-Day War in 1967. Then, in the beginning of the 1970s, under the leadership of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and his left-wing labor government, efforts were made to reestablish a Jewish presence in Gaza. This policy, driven by a desire to secure and protect all of Israel by strengthening a hold of all of Gaza, saw the return of Jewish resettlement in Gaza. The goal was to enhance the region's development and integrate it more closely with Israel's national framework. Despite these efforts, international pressure grew over the years to have Israel pull out all Jews and IDF soldiers from Gaza. This led the Israeli government to implement the Gaza Disengagement Plan in 2005, which I call the expulsion, since it brought about the expulsion of close to 10,000 Jewish civilians from their homes in Gaza and the destruction of all 21 Jewish communities there. The Israeli people were told that the Gaza disengagement was implemented in order to try to achieve peace by the Arabs in Gaza by them having no Jews living in that area. Like, how does that even make sense? And it led to the end of the modern presence of Jews in Gaza. The world's frequent disregard for the Jewish connection to Gaza is not just an oversight, but a disservice to the complex and nuanced history of our region. The historical evidence from ancient temples and synagogues to Rabbi Nejara's song and from early 20th century Jewish communities, it all provides a rich tapestry that illustrates the deep ties between the Jewish people and Gaza. How much of this did you know? Well, acknowledging this information is crucial not only for historical accuracy, but also for fostering a more balanced and informed discussion about Gaza and Israel and the Jewish people's role with Gaza. By acknowledging the Jewish connection to Gaza, we honor the history and contributions of the Jewish community in that area, and we provide a fuller understanding of the region's past and present. It is time that the world recognizes and respects this Jewish heritage, ensuring that the rich tapestry of Gaza's Jewish history is acknowledged and preserved for future generations, and in terms of how we deal with Gaza moving forward. As Israel is pressured to propose a solution for the day after Israel destroys Hamas in Gaza, this Jewish history of Gaza can no longer be ignored or denied by Israel, by the Jewish people, or by the world. Gaza is more Jewish than Arab Muslim, and it is up to us to share this information with as many people as possible moving forward. While international pressure is already being placed upon Israel to make Gaza Jew-free again after the war, there are security voices in Israel, like Bitronistim director Amir Avivi, who clearly explains that the security need for Israel to resettle Gaza with Jewish communities, that only with Jewish communities in Gaza can the state of Israel secure Israel and all Israelis, returning to the security understanding of Yitzhak Rabin and his left-wing labor government back in the early 1970s. Regardless, it is time to make Gaza Jewish again, not just as the only security solution to end the terror against us from Gaza forever, but because it is historically Jewish, and that is the just, moral, and historically accurate step to do. Join me in sharing this video so people know the facts about Gaza and Jewish Gaza and develop the public awareness necessary to make Gaza Jewish again. That's what you get from me for following the belief-based, inspiring, politically incorrect truth of the Pulse of Israel. If you are not yet a subscriber to the Pulse of Israel, go to pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe. And to ensure that our videos get seen and spread and promoted by more people, click to donate on the pulseofisrael.com website every once in a while. We are a donor-based organization, and your donations are critical in allowing us to do this very important work for Israel, the Jewish people, and the freedom-loving world. In the meantime, signing off for another episode of the Pulse of Israel here in our eternal and ancestral homeland, the land of Israel, in our beautiful, eternal, biblical, and indivisible capital, Jerusalem, since King David's time.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.